The last person 21-year-old Kelsie Schelling saw before she disappeared in Pueblo, Colorado, was her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Donthe Lucas. She drove 2 hours from Denver to hash things out with the former junior college basketball star. She had just found out she was 8 weeks pregnant with his baby. Now, earlier that day, she sent him and his mom a picture of her ultrasound. Now, Kelsie was thrilled. Donthe, not so much. On February 3rd, 2013, the day before she went missing, the two of them were arguing about the baby. She wanted him to join her at the doctor in Denver. He wanted her to come to Pueblo before she saw the doctor. After spending most of the day and night fighting over text and phone calls, Kelsie seemed to give up on the idea that the three of them could be a family. She told him she'd raise the baby herself and he could go ahead and forget she was pregnant. But it didn't end there.
This episode of True Crime Recaps is brought to you by Magellan TV. Amy and I are always on the lookout for a good documentary, and we can't say enough about the selection we found on Magellan TV. It's a new type of documentary streaming membership founded by filmmakers. We've been glued to all the true crime content, no surprise there. They have the most varied selection available anywhere. Now, lately, we've been obsessed with Nightclub Killer. It's about 2 murders that shook a tourist town in South Africa and the controversial arrest and conviction that followed. Of course, it's not all true crime. Magellan TV has over 3,000 documentaries to choose from, including history, science, nature, and space. Plus, they add new programs every week. You can watch Magellan TV on any device or connected TV. You can even cast from your phone to your TV. Right now, you can get a 1-month free trial when you click the link in the description below. Again, that's 1 month free, and all you have to do is click the link in the description to get started today. Let us know what you're watching. Until then, here's Amy with your recap.
I'm Amy, and this is True Crime Recaps. Every week, my husband Chris and I are here bringing you all the crime in half the time. Now, if that sounds good to you, it would mean so much to us if you take a second to subscribe and hit the bell so you're always the first to know when we've got something new. And if you want to hit the like button while you're down there, I gotta tell you that would honestly make our day. But no matter what, thank you for spending part of your day with me. Now, on with the story. At 6'7" Donthe Lucas was the star basketball player for Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, Colorado. That's where he met Kelsie. Their 2-year relationship was rocky from the beginning. According to her friends, Kelsie gave him anything and he took everything he could. She loaned him her car, her bank card, even her freaking apartment. And when he lost his basketball scholarship after his GPA dropped, she gave him thousands of dollars to help him get started at a new college in Kansas. It was only revealed years later that Donthe never had any intention of enrolling at that school. It was just another excuse for him to take advantage. After she got pregnant, that was it. She made it clear it was time for him to either step up or get out of her life for good. On February 4th, 2013, Kelsie saw her doctor. With her ultrasound in hand, she told her parents they were going to have a grandchild. And she said she didn't think Donthe was going to be in the picture. They were fine with that. They told her they'd support her no matter what. The two of them kept arguing. At almost 6 o'clock that night, she texted this: "I'm tired of being miserable. This isn't me. I'm always happy. I don't even remember the last time I was happy. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to drive all the way to Pueblo just to fight." And that is when Donthe changed his tune. He texted, "I don't want to fight at all. I want to give you this." When she asked what he was talking about, he said, "Just wait and see for yourself. You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you anyway, so you can see for yourself." And he wouldn't take no for an answer. He just kept saying she shouldn't waste time worrying about getting someone to cover her shift at the store where she worked. All he wanted her to do was come to Pueblo. So she did. Although she did wait until after work. But when she got to the Walmart where they agreed to meet around 10 o'clock on February 4th, 2013, Donthe was nowhere in sight. An hour later, she texted that she was tired of waiting for him, and he told her to meet him at a spot near his grandmother's house. A half hour later, she texted again, "Where are you? I've been here for over an hour just waiting." So what happened after she sent that text is where the lies begin. At 3:54 a.m. in the early morning hours of February 5th, 2013, Donthe called Kelsie. Phone records later showed that his cell and hers were traveling next to each other in a remote area of Pueblo County at that time. So, why did he call her? For 8 long years, her family believed he made that call so he could find her phone in the dark. There was no doubt in their minds that Donthe murdered Kelsie and her unborn baby sometime between her text to him around 11:30 p.m. and the call at 3:54 a.m. At 9:30 that morning, Donthe's mother noticed that Kelsie's car was parked in front of his grandmother's house. So he usually spent nights at his grandmother's and days at his mother's apartment. She told police Donthe was in the living room and she assumed Kelsie was in the bedroom, but she admitted she didn't see her. His grandmother said she'd woken up around 4 a.m. that day and happened to see her grandson, Donthe, coming in from the garage. When she asked him what he was doing up, he told her he was looking for something and she should go back to sleep. So when Kelsie didn't show up to work that day, her coworker called to check on her. But instead of a call back, she got a strange text saying she wasn't having the baby anymore because, quote, it was growing in the wrong place. ATM video taken at 11:39 a.m. that same day, February 5th, showed Donthe alone behind the wheel of Kelsie's car. He was withdrawing $400 with her bank card. At the same time, 2 texts were sent from his phone to hers. Cell towers later revealed that both phones, again, were together. One of the texts he sent said this: "I'm so sorry you had to go through that alone. Just wish you would have told me. It was very likely to happen. I could be prepared. I didn't expect to feel like this now." The text back from her phone said, "After you get that money, pick me up and stay out of my life." Can we say alibi texts? Yeah. About 20 minutes later, video surveillance at Walmart caught someone parking Kelsie's car on the south end of the lot. Donthe told police they were in the car together. He said they stopped there so she could pick up some snacks before she drove back to Denver. But they got in a fight and she kicked him out. He said he called his mother to pick him up and he didn't see Kelsie again after that. So, going back to the security footage, a tall person in a red hoodie can be seen walking away from the car, headed toward the back of the store. But there was no movement in or around the car from anyone else for the next 19 hours. And in that time, Donthe was keeping busy. The next day, in the early morning hours of February 6, 2013, his phone pinged off a tower near the South Side landfill, a place not too far from his grandmother's house. Surveillance footage near the gate caught a car idling there for a long time, but you can't make out the make and model. When the landfill opened at 5:30 a.m., they noticed the lock on the gate had been tampered with. Later that same morning at 7:20 a.m., Walmart surveillance picked up someone walking back to Kelsie's car from the back of the store. That person used the key fob to unlock it before driving away. It was later confirmed that Kelsie's spare key fob was still in her Denver apartment, so whoever unlocked her car got the keys from her. But who was that mystery someone? Well, the security footage was too grainy to make it out, and despite her mother's pleading, Pueblo police wouldn't send it to the FBI for imaging. It would take Donthe's confession to an undercover amateur sleuth posing as his girlfriend years later to prove that without a doubt that yes, it was him who drove away in her car, but we're not quite there yet. Let's just keep following the car and the phones for now. So her father called her later that day, but she didn't call him back. All he got was a text saying she was sick on the couch. The last time he saw her was on February 2nd. He changed her oil and wrote down the mileage, and that's how he knew that 165 unaccounted for miles were put on the car between the time Kelsie drove it to Donthe's grandmother's house late on February 4th to the time it was left in the parking lot of Pueblo's St. Mary Corwin Hospital on February 7th, 2013. That is the same day that all calls and texts to Kelsie's phone started going straight to voicemail. The next day, on February 8th, 2013, her family decided enough was enough. They drove to her Denver apartment to check on her, but she wasn't there. And when they compared notes, they realized her texts stopped sounding like her after she met up with Donthe. That's when they called the Denver police. And her mother called Donthe too. He didn't have too much to say. He just said if he heard from Kelsie, he'd let her know. And then strangely, the next day, he said he had. He told her Kelsie called him from a private number because she didn't have her phone, and she wanted him to stop calling her and stop worrying about her because she was fine. He told her mom Kelsie would call her. On February 11th, 7 days after she was last seen, the Denver police called Donthe's grandmother's house to ask them a few questions about Kelsie. He told them he met up with her at Walmart on February 4th. They went from there to this spot near his grandma's house, and he went home from there. Then he said she texted him around 5 a.m. on February 5th to say she was still there and she wanted to talk. He said he told her to come over. Then he took her to Parkview Medical Center for a doctor's appointment. After that, she told him she wasn't pregnant anymore, and they went their separate ways in the Walmart parking lot when she stopped to get snacks for the road, the whole thing. But there was no record of Kelsie ever being at the hospital, and no one else in the family admitted to seeing her. 3 days after that, the Pueblo Police Department found her locked car in the parking lot at St. Mary Corwin Hospital. Surveillance footage showed someone walking away from it, but it was too grainy to make out who it was, and the Pueblo police refused to send it to the FBI for enhancement. But the next day, on February 15th, 2013, Donthe was arrested on a felony identity theft charge. Why? Because he was using Kelsie's bank card. Now, remember when I told you that while they were dating, Kelsie happily gave him anything he wanted, including her car and her bank card? When police heard that, they dropped the charges and let him go. But not before he told them a few more lies. The first thing he said was that Kelsie wasn't his girlfriend and she never had been. He told them she had a miscarriage. Of course, he wasn't taking into account the fact that she'd already been to a doctor on February 4th and learned that both she and the baby were totally healthy. And then later, he said Kelsie actually wanted to go back to California and get back together with her old boyfriend. She'd lived there for a few months in 2012. And then, when police pointed out that there was no appointment at Parkview Medical Center for Kelsie, he admitted he lied because they were actually doing drugs. He said the surprise he lured her to Pueblo with was actually cocaine, which of course was completely ridiculous since A, Kelsie was not a partier, and she had told all her friends and family how excited she was to be a mom, and there was no way she would have endangered her baby by doing drugs. And then Donthe stopped cooperating. He refused to take a polygraph, and he asked for a lawyer. At that point, the investigation stalled. And despite his many contradictions and obvious lies, without a body, Pueblo police would not reclassify it from a missing persons case to a homicide. So her mom hired 2 retired detectives and picked up the investigation where they left off. In September of 2013, the landlord at Donthe's mother's place was notified that the utilities had been turned off. When he got to the house, he saw that the place was empty and trashed. Now, according to a civil lawsuit filed by Kelsie's family in 2015, the landlord arranged to have the carpet replaced, but when he pulled it up in the living room, the bottom was stained with something he thought was blood. There were several drops on the floor leading from the living room and pooling in a closet. So he did what anyone else would do. He freaked out and he called the police, but they never came to check it out. He even offered to bring a sample of the stained carpet to them, but he never got a response. So he threw it out, obviously not knowing the details of Kelsie's disappearance. So almost a year after she was last seen, the police finally followed up with him in January of 2014. New tenants were in the house by that time, but the landlord offered to let them come and take samples from the floorboards. But they said no. And that's not all. For months, the police had been saying the car was wiped clean and no evidence was recovered. But her private investigators wanted another look at it. They finally got permission to reprocess it for evidence on January 22nd, 2014. Now, according to information revealed in this lawsuit, police used something called Blue Star to search the car for trace evidence. Unfortunately, it's known to destroy fingerprints and DNA evidence, which is why it's not commonly used in a case like this. Furthermore, the lead detective admitted that they had found some unexplainable things in the car. A substance from the trunk of the car was consistent with dried bodily fluids. And also there were 2 large palm prints on the front seat headrests. But according to the lawsuit, those items had never been tested. This is hard to believe. But when the private investigators demanded they go to the lab, the police later said, quote, "The evidence did not return anything." So reprocessing the car turned up a few strands of Kelsie's hair in the trunk under the spare tire and some hair from Donthe's mother in the front passenger seat. The lawsuit revealed something else shocking, and I mean bizarre to the point where you're going to look at me and be like, really? And all I can tell you is, yes, apparently this happened. And I'm going to quote straight from the lawsuit just to be super accurate. On May 31st, 2014, a search team member received a tip about an individual that had been night fishing on Lake Minnequa within the Pueblo city limits. It was reported that this individual, fishing with his girlfriend on the east side of the lake, snaked something large and heavy with his fishing pole. Thinking he was hooked on a large branch or log, he entered the water and followed the line to the snag. As he found the snag, he lifted the object up until he saw what appeared to be a human upper head and torso. He stated that he saw hair attached to the head, however, he dropped it immediately and cut his fishing line. He and his girlfriend then left the area and debated whether to contact law enforcement due to his association with gang activity. In speaking with a family friend that has been associated with the search for Kelsie Schelling, this friend advised him that he needed to report the incident because the body may be that of Kelsie Schelling. They did report it. The police did visit the lake with him so he could point out where he saw the body. And again, according to this lawsuit, the police did say they were going to get divers there to check it out. But apparently they never did? How is that possible? In October 2015, someone messaged Kelsie's mom through the Facebook group. They said she was still alive, but she'd been trafficked. If they wanted to get her out, they had to bring $50,000 to a McDonald's in Vancouver, Washington, and give it to a guy named Marcus wearing a red baseball hat. Well, her mom is no dummy, so she reached out to Vancouver police about it, and they set up a sting operation which did catch a guy in a red baseball cap who was there to collect money, but he didn't know anything about Kelsie. He thought he was picking up money for a jewelry business. All he knew was that he was supposed to wire the money to someone he'd never met, and why the hell would someone agree to that? I do not know, but yes. Okay. The emails were untraceable, of course, and their Facebook page was connected to a Russian IP address, so it was just a twisted scam. On February 26, 2016, a judge threw out her parents' lawsuit against the police, but the information that they were putting out there, it must have lit some kind of fire because the Colorado Bureau of Investigation all of a sudden stepped in. In April 2016, a woman we'll call Lauren, because that is her name, she reached out to Donthe on Facebook. She was friends with someone who was friends with Kelsie's mom, and she thought she might be able to get Donthe to open up to her. She hoped he'd offer some kind of clue about what happened to Kelsie. And the two of them became close, and he admitted to her that, yes, that was him on the hospital and Walmart surveillance. But why he was moving her car, that's unclear. But she stayed close to him, and their relationship turned intimate. And in an interview with ABC's 2020, she said he has this way about him that makes you feel sorry for him because he comes off so lost and hurt. But in the back of my mind, I had to keep reminding myself that he was a potential murderer. And then he proposed to her. And that's when she realized she needed to back off. And she took the ring and told him she'd think about it. But if you can believe it, Lauren wasn't the only girl going undercover to get information out of Donthe. And I swear to God, you cannot make this stuff up. In July 2016, a woman we'll call Jessica, because that's her name, contacted the CBI to say she developed a relationship with Donthe to try and get him to tell her what happened to Kelsie. Same story. But he seemed to be a little less open with her than he was with Lauren. To Jessica, he said Kelsie was a good friend that used to give him money. Nice. But she left him to go meet up with a drug dealer, and he never saw her again. And he didn't want to talk about it. By January 2017, Jessica, undercover sleuth that she was, wasn't pretending anymore. She'd fallen in love with him. The CBI officer told her to stop talking to Donthe or she could get in trouble. So she moved to Arizona. So we're going to get back to Jessica. But in April 2017, the police dug up the yard behind Donthe's grandmother's house. They didn't live there anymore, but guess who showed up to very carefully watch them search? None other than Donthe. Apparently, he told the people living there that he knew the previous tenants, and they said he was very interested in what was happening in the search. So after 2 days of digging around, they didn't find too much, just some hairs attached to a piece of blue plastic. And maybe they should have checked his mother's old house with the blood-stained floor. But in May, they searched some other areas in southwest Pueblo. At this point, you're probably screaming, what about the landfill, right? Because remember the landfill with the broken lock where Donthe's phone was on February 6th? Well, that is a pretty much no-go. Basically, they said, yes, she may be there, but it would be next to impossible to conduct a systematic search to find out for sure. Which, I mean... In June of 2017, someone started a fire on the garage attached to Donthe's grandmother's old house. Yeah, the same place the police searched in April. The people living there at the time managed to put it out before the whole thing went up, and it was determined that it was arson. Beginning in November 2017, police started to tap Donthe's family's phones. Later, the CBI said they tried riling them up with requests for interviews and searches in other areas in Pueblo, hoping that they would say something to each other. But that is how they found out Donthe bought a one-way ticket to Arizona to be with Jessica. You remember her, the undercover girlfriend who fell in love? He was arrested at Denver International Airport on November 13th, 2017, but not for Kelsie's murder. No, he was arrested in connection with a robbery he was involved in with his brother and mother 2 months earlier. I am telling you, this case is wild. So really quick, here's the skinny on that. On September 1st, 2017, a guy, total stranger to them, parked outside their house as he was believed trying to find the right address for a friend of his that he was supposed to be visiting. He later identified Donthe's brother, and their mother as 3 people who attacked him and stole $1,000 out of his car while he was idling there. Yeah, that happened. And then finally, on December 1st, 2017, Donthe was charged with first-degree murder of Kelsie and her baby. He pleaded not guilty. And then the trial got postponed and pushed back until it was finally started on February 3rd, 2021. Almost 8 years to the day that she disappeared. Meanwhile, Donthe stayed in jail. He must have gotten real comfortable there because one of the prosecution's most influential witnesses was a jailhouse informant who told them Donthe confessed to Kelsie's murder and said her body would never be found. And when the prosecution asked him why the body would never be found, he said Donthe told him, quote, his mom helped him. In 2020, his mom was sentenced to 3 years in prison for her role in that robbery. But wait, if you think you know where this story is going from here, not so fast. Donthe apparently told someone else that he murdered Kelsie and the baby. This was a woman that he used to date named Roxanne Martinez. According to an investigation by 2020, she had reached out to Kelsie's mother all the way back in March of 2013 to say Donthe confessed to her and told her where the body was. But when they tried to meet up with her, she said she was in the hospital. And, of course, you can probably guess at this point, the Pueblo police did not follow up at that time. But before she could testify against Donthe in court, she was shot and killed in Denver on February 25th, 2021. Pretty crazy coincidence, huh? But Denver police say it was not related to the trial. Of course, we're never going to know what she might have said. Now remember, you've pretty much heard about all the evidence that the state had against him. Not too much in the way of forensics, but he had means, motive, and opportunity, that golden pyramid, And the prosecution went over the cell phone data, the surveillance footage, the text messages luring Kelsie to Pueblo, and, of course, his reported confessions. The defense called no witnesses. It only took the jury 3 hours to find him guilty on March 8th, 2021. Now, he was sentenced to life without parole, but the most important question still needs to be answered. Where is Kelsie's body? Now, I don't know about you, but I won't sleep tonight unless I just assume that someone in law enforcement checked on that body in the lake. Maybe that tip was BS, maybe it wasn't Kelsie, but as of right now, she is still missing. The CBI testified that shortly after she vanished, Donthe told someone he wrapped her in a tarp and threw her in the Arkansas River. In 2017, police searched an overgrown area near the river. They also found some dirt in her car that might be a clue, assuming it was tracked in on shoes. It had Amazonite in it. That's a mineral found in high concentrations in an area about an hour west of Pueblo. And if you remember, there were those over 100 unaccounted for miles on the car and 4 hours of zero phone activity on February 5th, 2013. So, I don't know what has to happen, but we need to find this girl and her baby and give them a proper burial. Now, why can't they make Donthe tell them where they are? And how about that statement that his mother helped him? What do you think is going on there? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you like getting all the crime in half the time, please remember to give this a thumbs up and hit subscribe and the bell so you always know when a new recap is ready for you to weigh in on. And thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And I'll see you soon.